Okay, I think we can start now. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today in From Tricky to Easy, How to Make AI Development Accessible for Everyone. This event is brought to you in partnership with Sentient.io. So before we start, let me just go over a few house rules. It's not a lot. So firstly, we invite you to join the discussion. There is a chat box in Zoom that you can type your thoughts and comments about the discussion on in the chat widget. So feel free to interact with your fellow participants as well. But please do keep the chat within today's topic. Secondly, we are opening the floor for your questions. You can type in your question in the Q&A widget, also found in the menu bar of your Zoom screen. There are some of you who have included questions in your registration forms. Your questions have already been shared with our panel. And thirdly, this webinar is recorded. We will be sending all of you a link via email so you can view it after. Now, before we start, we kind of want to know first where you are in your AI development journey. So we're gonna run like two polls first. So the first one is if you are currently using AI in your company. So the poll question is in the screen. You could answer that from there. And then the second question is if you already have a team or you're planning on building a team to focus on building your AI systems. Let's just give everyone some time to answer the poll. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Just give it a couple more seconds. All right. Thanks everyone for participating. So for everyone's information, for the first question, are you currently using AI in your company? 50% of you say yes, while 17% said no, and 33% said no, but planning to. For the second question, do you have a team or are planning to build a team to focus on building AI systems? 67% said yes, 17% said no, and 17% said no, but planning to. All right, thank you for participating in our poll. So without further ado, let me turn over the floor to our moderator to get the conversation started. Agnes?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon and good morning to some of you guys dialing in from the US. I know some, from very far away. So wherever you are, happy to be here as a moderator. My name is Agnes Wang, co-founder and CEO of NewFast. NewFast is an AI-powered multilingual video interview platform serving big companies, also startups in their hiring journey for remote recruitment, for building a diverse and talented workplace, while working from home. So without further ado, I would like to start introducing our panelists today. Why not we start from 7 Sense?
Sure, thanks Agnes. Great to be here. So I'm Varun, I'm one of the co-founders of 7 Sense. 7 Sense is a AI company which is focused on computer vision using machine learning at the edge. So instead of streaming data from vision sensors to the cloud or a centralized location, we have been working on building computer vision at the edge. And one of our primary products right now is using facial recognition at the edge. So body-worn facial recognition close to the camera edge. This is my third company, so I am a three-time entrepreneur. Previously, I started a company called Cently, and before that, a company called 10Cube, which was acquired by McAfee in 2010.
Wow, interesting journey for entrepreneurship. Thank you very much, Varu. Then let us hear from Sentient.ai. Chris too, please.
Yes, hi, my name is Chris. I'm the founder of Sentient.io. We know everybody knows that AI is going to help them save money, be more productive, or enhance your revenue streams. But with the many enterprises that I talk to, many of them says that it's very hard to get skill sets to help them build up their AI. So that is why Sentient is taking a look at this by creating an AI platform with many pre-trained algorithms on our platform. And then software developers who have less skills in AI can just consume those AI models through APIs. So this will accelerate AI adoption much faster among many companies. So that's how I see things. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, for your introduction and the company offering. Then let's introduce Suri from Caril.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. I'm Cherry from Kawil AI. Well, we are a multidisciplinary artificial intelligence solution for machine learning models that can be integrated into web and mobile application. Basically, we do IoT. We integrate AI to any web connection utilizing modern devices like your cell phone. So yeah, and yeah, I'm coming in from the Philippines. So for all those audience who are from the Philippines, hello.
Great, thank you, Sherry. And last but not least, we have Gaurav from NextBillion.ai.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Gaurav. So I'm the co-founder of NextBillion.ai. We are an enterprise maps and location technology company. We heavily use AI to power all our products. We're Singapore-based. We have customers serving all across the globe. So I look forward to this webinar and sharing how we can help other companies, help all of you learn more about AI.
Great, thank you, Gaurav of NextBillion.ai. So it's very good that we have this expert panel here to share all their startup AI journey. For New Fast, we actually start 4 years ago in Hong Kong Science Park. We first built a data harvesting site before we actually hire data scientists into the team to process the data that we collected. Yeah. So I also wanted to ask the panelists how you get started on your AI journey. What's the gateway to working on AI? Maybe with Chris.
Oh, how I started with AI? Well, when I was an undergraduate in my university, I was working in a branch of AI called symbolic computing, where we thought about knowledge representation and about slots and things like that. And we used programming languages like Lisp and Prolog. So that's where I first started to get my interest in artificial intelligence. And we started to build things like expert systems. But all that is many years ago, right? Things have advanced in such a fast pace. That's how I got into AI.
Wow. Yeah. I also did my programming back 20 years ago in my degree course. We learned Java and learn OO and further on do some simulation on MATLAB and so forth for myself. What about I want to hear from Sherry.
So yeah, basically I started a few years ago. I was a former science research specialist from the academia, and we are more focused on the computer vision side of mapping environmental sites, especially the marine protected areas. So I saw that there are a lot of application of especially computer vision, and attending conferences after that really opened up my mind to a spectrum of application. That's why when I started my company, that was 2017. It was also another company, and it is registered in Singapore. That's where I started to see how we can provide AI services through integration to IoT. So it's really fascinating, and I love doing it right now. So yeah,
Wow. Very diverse experience in application of AI in environmental protection. Yeah, with IoT technology, yes, sensors and all that. Well, let's move on to the next question. What were the main challenges you faced, when you started building the AI system in your company? And how do you work around these challenges? For seventh time, since you have built so many startups previously and exceeded successfully. Varu?
So I think the biggest challenge is always data in machine learning, and especially when you're tackling problems like facial recognition or object detection or whatever it may be, data is always the biggest challenge. So collecting the data over time, today our algorithm is in the top 10 on the NIST facial recognition vendor test. And getting here took us approximately 4 years of collecting data, cleaning data, retraining the models, keeping up with the research papers, making sure that we are using modern backbones, the latest loss functions and things like that. So I think the main challenge is getting the data and making sure that you are following the industry state-of-the-art papers, so to make sure that your solution is like among the best in the world.
Wow, you have something to say from Gaurav?
Yeah, so I think, I have not been that actively involved personally in programming. So maybe I can offer a different perspective, more from a product side. So, for us, what my experience is that apart from the technology side of it, from a more business or user or even perspective, it's very important to identify the exact problem. So related to the problem that Varun just described, the way you formulate the problem statement has a huge impact on everything, right? Like the data that you decide to collect or invest in, or the goals that you set. So I think and naturally, especially if you're a small company and, obviously talent for AI is generally in short supply. So my experience is that if it's extremely important to be very clear on the user problem, so that you can prioritize, because each of this, as Varun described, like it took them 4 years to get somewhere. Imagine if the direction that you, or the goal that you were trying to do, that was off, you would end up spending a lot of time in a way chasing the wrong goal. So this is sort of my experience, and one of the challenges we face as a small company, which is you always have lots of competing demands. And how do you identify and prioritize the right problem? How do you frame that problem correctly? Yeah, so this is one of the challenges that we actively face, and I'm sure most of the small companies face also.
Wow, that is very insightful, and I always have to as a business owner, that is the top one priority, right? To know your customers' pain points and really offer them the solution that the user are actually looking for. Yeah, despite of all the state-of-the-art AI development. Indeed, yes. That is so true. Yeah. So at the end, we are all running a for-profit business, and we should really always look into, how we best serve our client.
I think I just like to chip in there. So there is an approach of building core technology as well. And just you see all the research coming out of A-star and out of academic institutions. So if you're building like core tech, that also can get acquired by a big company who is focused on the user problems. So that's exactly what happened. Like in 10Cube, we were like we did on our own. We had a few customers, and we knew we were building a great product. But at the end of the day, we got acquired by McAfee, who took it, global and with all their distributors and all of that, then scale that. So I mean, depends on what's your exit plan.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. I'm sure most of the audience here today are their own startup founders, CEO, and Centra looking for some exit at some point for their business. So yeah, definitely that is really depends on your exit strategy. Yeah, of the business. If this is really what you're building as a deep tech business, then it worth the time to invest in the R&D also, yeah, while scaling up your client globally, regionally. Yeah. Let's move on to the next question. So we all have experience working with various companies to incorporate AI into the operation and the product. Can you share some of the common issues that this company face working on the AI system, like from the client perspective? Yeah. What about Chris?
Well,
since yeah, a lot of companies to build their own in-house AI capabilities.
Yes. So many of my customers have issues with data with which to train the AI models that we bring for them. For example, there are some companies who want to take take videos and train the AI models so that our AI models can speak in the tone and in the voice of whoever appeared in the videos. But the problem with that is that some of the videos they have are not clear and not refined, so it's very difficult to use those videos to train my AI models. That's an example. Another example is that there are customers who want to do product defect detection, but they don't have enough photos and images of their defects. So that is another big challenge. So the challenges mainly for machine learning has always been the availability of high quality data, enough and sufficient to train your AI models. So I found that that is one of the big problems and issues with many customers I have.
Definitely. What about Sherry? You work on the AI on IoT. Yeah, any sharing of your client in terms of adopting the AI solution you offer to them?
Yes, I do agree with Chris, because one of my previous experience was mangrove monitoring of the area. So there's a mix of image recognition of kind of species of birds that goes in that area, and also intruder going to the protected area. But then again, we cannot really access or start the training for the AI because they don't have data. So we need to build the data set for them. So it will take some time for us to really execute the whole system. So for my experience, it's really hard for a client to really, they thought that if you put AI, it's like magic, that you discussed that it can identify a person, an intruder or what. And then, but they don't know that there's the data behind running the AI. So they think that we need it in a few months and so on. So I have encountered that it's a big client of ours, that thinking that it can be executed in the next 6 months, and like you're lacking data on the area, something like that. Gathering the data is tedious. What more training the data, and how is the quality of data? So me personally, I want to tell some fellow startups here that data is very important. If you're really building an AI, it can be on the voice or text or anything, but that powers data. AI is powered by data. So bear that in mind. Gathering data is very tedious and also expensive. And telling that to your customer that you don't have other data to support the AI, and you will add on to the cost of really building the infrastructure, then they will say, how come? I thought AI is like this. So I think that's the experience that I have encountered very recently. And I hope that other clients will see that it's not really a magic thing for AI.
Yeah, indeed, the customer education at the very beginning of the conversation is always time consuming, but for majority of the clients who are just starting out thinking about AI strategy, they really ask a lot of questions, and yeah, we all have to really explain the AI model process quite clearly to them, so that they can get the best out of what they plan to invest in that process.
Yes, correct.
Okay, there's some question in the chat. Let us also go through that. That's one by Leon Pen. What is the advice for companies who want to adopt AI and don't know where to start? For example, how can they start gathering quality data? Maybe I can add a bit here. So as a HR tech company here at NewFast, quality data means that the candidates speak in a very clear manner, so that we can get transcribed text that can be at least understood by the human. Otherwise, even the machine couldn't understood the transcribed text, and we couldn't do much from that data. So from the data quality perspective, I think for NewFast, we are working on this, with some state-of-the-art tech company in the world, to make sure that the transcription from the audio are of good quality, with all these word error rate comparison that we did internally in our R&D team, to compare different API available, so that we can choose the best word error rate solution to do our subsequent data training, and also scoring of the candidate for the job, for suitability of the job. If anyone would like to share this part of data quality part, please share.
Yeah, I can add to that. Just like my example, we don't access to data is really hard, and there are a lot of available, of course, but most of it are very expensive also, because most of them are, we pay for the rights for the data. So when you're building an AI, first you focus on what type of AI are you planning to launch. Like, is it for language, for text, or something like that? Like you, Agnes, is more on the video and the text. So since it's a platform for interviewing, so I think a very clear data of images and the way you talk is needed. So that itself is a bit expensive. So for me, if you want an AI company, you should be resourceful in kind of laying down all the requirements that you need to really do a pilot test, or maybe a validation for that specific AI application. So yes.
Great. Maybe Chris can also add on to the data quality question.
Yes, so I think some of my fellow panelists here have already talked about data quality. I'd just like to add a little color to that by saying that sometimes we can use data generation algorithms like GAN algorithms to generate data that you don't have. So you may be given a small set of data to train your AI models. You can actually use GAN to generate a data set that simulates your real data, and that increases the footprint of your data training data for your AI models. So we have done that before for a customer, and that was very successful there.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
maybe
Thanks,
I can
Chris.
also
Yeah. Thanks,
chip
Chris.
in.
Yeah. Yes, Warren.
So the synthetic data is a great source, like from whether it's from GANs or whether it is using 3D modeling or 2D modeling. I have come across a lot of companies also using Unity to do some sort of, Unity is a game engine. So using Unity as a game engine to do some synthetic data creation for training models.
Wow, okay. What about the map analytics?
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, I mean, for us, probably this data collection challenge can be even harder because it often interacts with the real world. So you're even talking about potentially like sending people out, collect some data or whatever, or let's say
with a car, right? And with a webcam or a car.
Yeah, exactly. So or there could be like some other sources, but yeah, it's all kinds of complicated. So at least, and again, putting on sort of my product or the user hat, I think it's important to sort of say, okay, what is it that I have available? Instead of trying to sort of say, okay, let's try to get the best possible thing for this, machine learning model or whatever. Let's see what is available. And how can I, again, going back to the same user business problem, what can I do to solve this? Like, for example, one of the challenges we saw in the beginning, we were training, so we work with a lot of sensor data, and we were training our machine learning models based on our past experience of solving similar problems on very high quality sensor data. But when we started working with our customers, it was really sparse. There would be long periods where it would be missing. The quality was very low, but again, that is what was available. So we had to adapt our methodology. So yeah, I mean, I think, it's also, at least just adding on to what everyone else said, I feel it's also very important to be creative, which is to say, think in terms of a full solution as opposed to just a particular machine learning model, and see how you can be creative and flexible with the best of what's available, apply other methods, see, what you can do with synthetic data, see what you can do with some other free data sources. Maybe you can modify the solution slightly. Yeah, so this is sort of what, I suggest.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. Indeed, the data quality is every AI startup or company will have to face, regardless whether that is audio data, maps, images, text, etc. There are ways that you can get open source data. Like YouTube, for example, for videos. Actually, research, the audience and research academics, they always source open source data. Some of the research article also talk about creating their own data set for their study by paying the American and the so-called the AMT, the Amazon Mechanical Turk. Yeah, that can create the set of data that the researcher wanted to study on. Yeah, so there are paid and free services that like AI startup could make use of. for our case, when we get annotator to annotate our data set also, we have to pay for the annotator as well. That is in line with our like scoring methodology drafted by the registered IO psychologist. So really depends on the data and the outcome, the accuracy of your AI model as well. Yeah, to select your tools and your data set. Okay, there's actually one question that I should ask, especially for Varun. That is the PDPA concern on facial recognition. Yeah, raised by Don Lee, an audience.
So as I answered that in the chat, I think it depends largely on the use case. So far, I mean, in terms of customers, we've dealt a fair bit with the defense segment, so the Singapore Armed Forces and all that. And in their case, basically what we do is we provide the tools, and obviously customers in that segment will not want us to meddle with their infrastructure in any case. So once we've kind of provided the tools, they are the ones who would then deploy the tools, whether it's on their own infrastructure or whether it's completely opaque to us. And that's the way it should be, because we are not, we make sure our products are not like using our customers' data to kind of improve our products. We source our own data from other sources. We do not use customer data to improve our models. So we have absolutely no exposure to customer data. So the question is kind of moot.
Okay, thank you, Varun, for sharing this. Anyone would like to share on this part on personal data privacy issues that you collected on behalf of your client, for example? Or maybe Gaurav, since you...
No, I mean, we personally, we've tried actively to just not deal with this issue, in the sense that we just don't process personal data. So I don't have too much experience.
Sure. Okay. Chris?
Yes, so we consider it important so that our company is going for an ISO 27000 certification for data protection. And the journey for that ISO certification is about 9 months, very long time, but we feel that that's required, especially if you are in finance industry. You want to do algorithms for the finance industry. So you need certifications like that. So I guess by the time we finish the certification, I can then tell you all about it, whether it's easy or difficult.
Yeah. In fact, NewFast is also going through the ISO certification process.
Oh, good.
Yes. Is like Chris said, is a long process. Usually lasts at least 6 months. It really depends on like how your internal data, all those are being set up.
Yeah. Data management, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Incredibly hard.
So yeah, I mean, definitely when we, like at 7sense, if we are going to deploy an API service or going to be processing our customer data ourselves, then that question will become much more relevant to us. And I think, Chris, I'm going to approach you and understand how you're going about that.
Yeah, okay, I'll share that.
Okay. There's another question from the floor that is, given that many AI platforms either on cloud or on-prem, permanent, like on-site, what would be your advice on how could we choose the right fit for the company? For NewFast, right, we sometimes will receive such requests from client about on-prem solution of AI technology, and especially like for concerns of like data privacy, of course, like hospital, for example. The current way of we dealing with is to build like a binary file that can be like executable file to be installed by the user on their own machines. Yeah, and for local data storage requirement by certain countries like China, for example, yeah, we are deploying our code and our database within the jurisdiction so that the data won't leave the country and be compliant to the country's data privacy law and regulation. Yeah, so that is how Newfast do that. Yeah, in terms of on-prem, within jurisdiction, yeah, data requirement. Yeah, I would like to hear from Chris, since you are the AI consultant for a lot of companies.
Yeah, so for large companies in the past, we used to think about those companies like finance or defense or government, they want to deploy on-premise. We used to try to deploy our application and platform on their servers, but that can be quite inefficient. Sometimes it may take a month, sometimes it takes 2 months, right? So we decided against that, and we decide then that the best way to do that is to work with big tech companies like Dell, like Supermicro, and the rest like that, and pre-install our platform on specific boxes that they have. So when a customer wants on-prem, you just ship the box pre-installed with our application software. So that's very easy. Saves time, saves money.
We've also adopted that approach in many instances. Yeah.
Thanks, Farun.
Wow. Wow, okay. Sherry, you have any?
Yeah,
share here?
based on our experience, we recently deployed a similar system. Basically, I asked the customer first if it is on-prem or via web. But when of course, I give my advice to them that since we are really working on, remotely, and access to the internet is very important. So we kind of create our system that ready for online use. Because previously my client was deploying an on-prem system, and we're kind of having a hard time integrating their data to our system. So we kind of built half of their system on-prem to be integrated to our system. So I told them that since on-prem is very advisable on, like Chris is correct, that if it is defense or financial, highly recommended on-prem. But for like management of system, like building or other sites or like office system, it's good that it's online. So I really suggest that our client to implement the online system, because right now everybody's into security also, and they're really increasing security online. So maybe the threat on really having that hacking or what is already being addressed as we move forward. So yeah, it depends on the client if they want it on-prem or online. So, and also what type of business are they implementing? So that's my suggestion.
Okay. Okay. I think we still have 10 more minutes. Let's quickly go through some of the questions that we have. What tools and resources would you recommend startups who want to start building their own AI system? Graph.
Sure. So I think for a small company assuming this is sort of a company that wants to build it themselves, which is what the question implies, I think the first question it starts off with is, the assumption is you've identified the business problem or the technology problem that you're looking to solve. After that, so the standard suggestion is, in terms of talent, machine learning teams can be comprised of, assuming you have the resources, people who are good at data engineering. So that's one key role. The second key role would be like a data scientist or whatever, somebody who's, let's say, can help you actually solve the machine learning part of the problem. And maybe
Yes.
you have some production engineers or whatever to help deploy and maintain the models. This is what, in terms of resources you would have. And, there may be a variety of platforms that you use, but I'm not necessarily an expert in that. But I think this is the ideal setup. Now, if you're a smaller company, you probably don't have all these resources, or you may not be in a position to invest. So you may want to consider, let's say, for example, if your problem could be solved, you work with Sentient.io as an example for some specific things they have to reduce the amount of effort that you need to undertake. That's one approach. The other approach is you could start with what's roughly called a machine learning engineer, sort of like a jack of all trades, who who's able to do a bit of all of these steps. So this is what I suggest maybe smaller companies to think about, depending on where you are. If you're at sufficient scale, you have enough money, then you probably want to go full steam ahead and build like a proper team comprising of different roles. This would be my suggestion.
Yeah. That's a very wise advice. Thank you. What about Varun?
Yeah, so the most difficult part is finding talent. So I think organizations and startups should definitely also invest in training, building, growing your own timber, building your own machine learning engineer. Like if you find people who are smart, and if you can train them to learn machine learning, there are a lot of online courses. I myself have taken the deep learning specialization on Coursera and multiple other courses. So I think that's another often overlooked thing, is that if we can train our own engineers, because that offsets the global talent shortages that we have in machine learning.
Definitely, yeah. Warren, that is the path that NewFast is also taking. So we have staff that are actually taking their own online courses to constantly upgrade themselves in terms of data engineering, best practice, and also state-of-the-art AI algorithm out there, to make sure that we are always following the latest NLP and computer vision development, in the global community of researchers in AI. And for ourselves, we even look into some free online resources like Colab. So we use Colab to test out a lot of open source AI models actually. And then you can actually use your own data set to fine tune your model, so that would be specific to your client use case. And Hugging Face and all those platforms. What about Chris?
Well, I agree. I'm very biased, of course. And I would say those who want to accelerate the adoption of AI, please use my AI as a service platform where you can find many algorithms that you need. But the rest of what you mentioned, Agnes, is very, very important to companies as well, right? Because you really need, it's very, very difficult to enhance talent or acquire talent these days. So you do that. So you overcome that by either using tools such that Sentient can provide, or you start off by identifying undergraduates in universities who are very good in AI, take them on as interns and grow your own timber. That's one way to do that.
Cool. Wow.
But I'm very reluctant to use open source things.
Okay. Yeah. Someone has asked about duplicate data without rightfully identified value or item that will be issued the outcome of the model. For example, same brand of wine may be represented differently. So could it possible the output predictive model become misleading that way? Okay, so I think going back to the data quality part, right? There's a saying says garbage in, garbage out in computer science. So before you use that data set to train the AI model, you have to make sure that the data are not duplicated. You have to cleanse the data. That's the first part of any model training. You have to identify duplicated data in the incoming data set. You have to cleanse the data and make sure that they are not contradicting to each other. Otherwise, you can't expect the AI to learn anything that is meaningful, right? Yeah. Any algorithm to help to remove duplicate data? Well, I mean, Python is, any tools, even Excel can help you to remove duplicated data, I believe.
Yeah, I think data, this is a fundamental of data cleaning. So it's basically scripting, and depending on how the data is, for example, if you want to deduplicate faces, then you can use the model output from your face recognition model itself to see, this set of people seems, or this set of images for a particular person seem similar to the images I've seen before. And similarly, you can just remove that data. So it's just a normal cleaning exercise of data.
Yeah, or another more expensive way is to get someone like a data annotation team to re-annotate the data, so that you have corrected the tag for the tagging, data tagging.
Yeah. But data taggers are not really that comprehensive in like tagging the data.
Yeah, it's expensive exercise.
Yeah,
of course.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to hire a human to do the data tagging.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the most expensive part of AI training. You really have to create your own data set.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Okay. We are time stop actually. So, anyone would? Yeah. Indeed, it's a very manual process at the beginning. I agree. Yeah. And so, maybe I should pass the floor back to E27, the organizer of the webinar today. Thank you for the panelists and all the questions from the floor. Yeah, we also have a very fruitful discussion today about our AI journey, and also different aspects of AI product development journey.
Thanks, everyone. So thank you for that discussion, guys. So just as I mentioned earlier, that this webinar is brought to you in partnership with Sentient. And I think Chris has also mentioned a couple of things that they're working on. So I would like to pass the floor to Chris for a quick sharing.
Okay, can I have screen sharing rights, please? Okay, thank you very much. I will not take more than 3 minutes for this. What I'd like to share is we have actually created a new feature on our Sentient platform, which encourages collaboration. So if you have internal collaboration teams, or if you outsource your AI development to a party somewhere else remotely, this is really excellent for you. So how can you have many teams working on the same model? Or how do you get many software engineering teams collaborating around tested AI models? That's what we do now. So that you can share your data sets and share your models quickly. It's called Team Spaces. So Team Spaces on our platform, you can sign it up. You can sign up for it right now. It's a place where you can share your APIs, data sets, and we've even got demo apps. Demo apps are apps that we build, which you can download free of charge, open source, and then build your applications from those demo apps. So you'll be able to create multiple sandboxes from your own team space feature so that you can actually collaborate with many different organizations like external outsourcees, internal programming team, or external remote programming teams. You can create multiple sandboxes. And what we do is we allow you to bring some of our 70 over AI models into your team space to make use of it. We allow you to upload your own completed AI models and data sets as well into this space for you to collaborate as teams. And therefore, you can securely manage a space where many teams can collaborate around a topic or a subject. And in addition to that, if you're a startup finding very hard to recruit AI engineers or data scientists, this is the platform for you to quickly create a space where you can outsource to partners like my fellow panelists here, and to bring in their models into your team space to use. Or if you're an enterprise, we find that enterprises with many software engineering, global engineering teams, they would find it very easy to collaborate around data sets and AI models around this. So we've had several very good use cases, and we can manage your data set securely and safely in that team spaces. So if you do need to sign up, we have created some very nice packages for you. We have the Light Pack, where it's $200 per developer per month, unlimited number of API calls. You can call a number of our APIs, or you can upload your own APIs as well. And we have Office Automation Bundle, which helps you turn text to speech or speech to text and do NLP on the results with summarization. And you may have logistic documents that you need to transcribe, to scan and transcribe into text. We can do that for you as well. So we have several packages, and please email us if you need to find out more about these team spaces. Thank you, everybody, for your time. All right, Lyra, over to you again.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Maybe as we'd like to hear from our panelists, maybe like your parting words for our attendees. Right now, a lot of them are startup founders. I do know that they do work with their teams as well, and they might be in the beginning or like just heading into the meat of their AI development journey. So maybe you can share with us as parting words, like what one advice you would want to give them, to kind of accelerate that. So maybe let's start with Alphabet Cherry.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Lyra. So yeah, for everybody here, if you're planning to really push on to the AI development or building your AI startup, I really recommend finding your focus AI, because building an AI company is one really expensive, even though there's also open source and all. Having also a team is very expensive. So you need to find out what resources that you will need in order for you to really get off the ground or really start your company. And yeah, and you will see also that it's worth it building your AI company. So first you find your focus application. So yeah, thank you everyone for having me. Thank you, Cynthia, for really having me in. Yes.
Thanks, Cherry.
Thanks, Cherry. How about Gaurav?
Yeah, so I think I feel like it's easy for somebody starting off to get intimidated. So I suggest, as Sherry was also saying, find your focus. And I want to put that slightly differently, which is focus on the simple and the important things first, which is what's the problem you're trying to solve? What is the most important problem? In that, instead of thinking about, oh, how do I apply some fancy machine learning model, focus on the next basic step, like, hey, what kind of data do I have? What can I do with what I have? How can I test something quickly? So focus on what is most important for your customers and your business, and then maybe focus on the simpler problems first, as opposed to trying to do everything in one go. And that's usually a good place to start, and then you will quickly find results, and then you can iterate from there.
Thank you. How about Varun?
I think a good approach is to do proof of concepts, and a lot of customers are willing to do proof of concepts with companies. So in the proof of concept stage itself, you can kind of focus on the customer problem, focus on building the data sets, focus on what kind of accuracy you're going to achieve. And then if the proof of concept is successful, at that point, you have a very clear roadmap of success to solving that customer problem.
Okay. Agnes, anything you want to share?
Oh, yes. Thanks, Lara. I think the most important, as other panelists have highlighted, is to really don't start with like the idea that I want an AI startup. Yeah, that's always the problem, right? Like, yeah, and start building your own AI team without like thinking about what real problem you're trying to solve as a company, because that's going to be quite costly down the road if you have no clear direction of what sort of problem you're trying to solve. Who is going to pay for your service? Actually, yeah, you have to really understand like how you charge your customer for your service, providing that AI solution also, and then ultimately it's all the other nitty-gritty of AI, which is data security, data quality, availability of the data science talent in your domain, and in that market, and then funding and finding your customers, pricing for your services, and all those startup issues. So please just start thinking about like what's the real world issue that you think the AI can help solve.
All right, that's great advice. How about you, Chris?
Well, if there's one thing I want to tell everybody, it's a very important thing to think ahead about data collection and data cleansing. If the rest of my panelists here have already advised you to be very clear what you want to do, but the number one thing is to make sure that you are actually collecting high quality data. Focus on that at the very beginning, and you'll be safe after that.
All right. All right. Thanks, everyone. Just a couple more reminders. So Chris mentioned about the team spaces earlier. So if you want to sign up for a demonstration and start a discussion about team spaces, you can just use the QR code on the screen to learn more about it and get yourself a 10% discount. We'll also be sharing you this QR code or link via email. We really encourage you to take this opportunity to learn more about it. Today's webinars is just one of the webinars brought to you by E27 and our partners. You can find out about our upcoming events as well, and other events and programs in and around the region from other organizations as well, by just looking into e27.co/events, or by creating an account on E27 if you haven't yet, to receive the daily digest where we could update you on these events. Again, thank you to our panelists and moderator, and thank you everyone for joining us. See you online again, hopefully next week at the first episode of our Market Access series. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.